Hello everyone, welcome to my channel on Talking with Tisha. I'm Tisha and you're you. We will be discussing today the dirty C word. Everyone wants to know what the dirty C word. No, it's not what you think it is. The dirty C word is cancer. There are so many types of cancer in this world. I can't even begin to express them all, talk about them all. They all matter. Every ribbon counts. No cancer is worse than the other. They all kill. No matter if you get rid of it, you think you're over it, it could come back. So it's always that itch in the back of your mind saying, is it back yet? I want to talk to you about the cancer that I was diagnosed with back in 2020. I just remember going to leave a job because I felt like it was stressing me out. It was stressing me out, by the way. But I was forgetting things. I was crying all the time. My supervisor was driving me nuts. So I went to the doctor because I was having a headache. That doctor, which is a nurse practitioner, by the way, had me on a medication called phentermine. Phentermine, which those of you who do not know what it is for weight loss. She had me on phentermine for weight loss, but possible side effects could cause a headache. So she took me off of the phentermine just for a little while my headaches would stop. They never stopped. They just kind of subsided a little bit. So she put me on ibuprofen 800. Oh, maybe you just have the headache because of the phentermine. It causes headaches. We're going to stop you off of the phentermine. Go ahead and start 800 ibuprofen 3 times a day. 3 times a day? I mean, is she kidding me? Who takes ibuprofen 800 3 times a day? No. So I said, okay. I knew from being in the medical field that it was too much. So I just took it whenever I would feel a headache coming on, which was beginning to be too much. So I went to urgent care. Urgent care told me that I was just having a migraine, and they prescribed some medication that I never took. So as time went by, I was having some other issues. I would smell cigarette smoke all the time. No matter what I did, no matter where I went, I smelled cigarette smoke. I thought it was the filters in my house. I changed the filters. I thought it was the filters in my car. I changed the filters in my car. I borrowed my friend's car because my car broke down, and I'm like, wait a minute, I still smell it in her car. I smelled it in my sleep. It would wake me up out of my sleep. So of course, Dr. Google, I started searching things on Google and nothing really was coming up. You smell things that aren't there, and that's an actual thing. Go see an ENT doctor, whatever, yada, yada. So I went back to my doctor and I told her I was smelling things, cigarette smoke. She told me people need to stop smoking around me. Maybe people are smoking around me and my nose is more sensitive than others. I listened to her. Then she told me when I went back another time, till I was forgetting things, that maybe I have ADHD. How do I have ADHD in my late 30s? Now I'm finally diagnosed with something in my late 30s. She was going to put me on medication. And I said, well, can I just go to an allergist or, an ENT doctor, someone to test me to see if I'm allergic to anything, or if I'm, an ENT doctor, maybe they can do an ear, nose, and throat type of thing, I thought I needed a referral, but with my insurance, I did not. I need an MRI, I said, I need an MRI of, my nose or whatever they do. And she kept sending in the information wrong. I got denied for my insurance 6 times. I found that out from the nurse that quit. On my own, I went to see the ENT specialist, and they asked me if I had an MRI done. And I said, no, I've been asking for it. I even called my insurance myself. The doctor took it upon herself to do a face-to-face which means she gets on the phone with the insurance company and she speaks to them and tell them why I need the MRI. A week later, I went and had my MRI done, still being stressed out at my job. And they said they found something. They didn't know what it was. They just found something. It could have been inflammation. It could have been swelling. I could have been dropped on my head when I was a baby is what they told me. It was so small, very minute, that they almost missed it. But the problem is, we as people, we know our bodies. We know when something is not right. All this time I had been telling my doctor something is wrong. All this time I knew something was wrong. I mean, I told my kids to put the dog in the refrigerator. I meant to say take the dog outside. I knew something was wrong. I went from being super mom to having my hands in everything, to being awesome superstar at work, to not remembering where I put things. I was putting stuff in the pantry that didn't go in the pantry like butter. So it took a while. They sent me to some doctor that asked me if I was faking it, told me I was worse off than his Alzheimer's patients because I couldn't match up things and because I couldn't remember who certain people were that was important in history. So I went to my neurologist. She told me that I was having simple partial focal seizures on my brain. So she put me on medication. The first medication that this doctor put me on, I was losing my mind. I was driving down the street and I thought cars were coming at me. So I fired that doctor and I started seeing the actual doctor, the owner of the practice. And so far she's been awesome. She put me on a different medication. We had to try so many different medications. But getting to it, why was I having these seizures? No one asked that question but me. None of the doctors, no one asked the question. Why was I having these silent seizures that I never had before? No one could give me a reason as to why. So she took another look at my scans and she sent it to a doctor at the University of Miami. But before all of that, I went through 5 different doctors that looked at my scans and told me nothing was wrong. Told me I had inflammation. Told me, oh, it was barely missed. It was too small to do operation on my brain. One doctor at the Cleveland Clinic, biggest hospital. A lot of people know the Cleveland Clinic, told me that if he goes cracking open my brain, that's how he said it, that I could be paralyzed on the right side of my body, scaring me to death. Meanwhile, I'm at home. I took medical leave because I'm thinking about leaving the job. I'm just thinking I'm having seizures on my brain from stress. She finally sent it to a doctor in the University of Miami. God bless this man. He took one look at it and told me that it was a tumor and that I needed to get rid of it. The same day he told me that, you gotta excuse my dog because I have a dog and she's barking. But the same day he told me that I needed to remove the tumor, I was walking out of my job. I had just put in my 2 weeks resignation at a job that I had worked at for 11 years to go start another job. And the same day that he wanted to do the craniotomy on me was the same day I was supposed to start my new job. Imagine walking out of one place, closing one door to open another one, but then you open a can of worms. You know, I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it. I wasn't sure when my insurance was going to be up. I didn't know what I was doing. But God made a way. Anyone that is out there struggling with not knowing where you're going to do, not knowing if it's possible, it's possible. I finally found out that the tumor they removed was cancer. And it was, they got it all. Oh, at your age, it was only a 2 and we got it all. And I found out at work that it was cancer. And then I found out from another doctor while I'm at work on the telehealth visit that this type of cancer you can't cure. I cried my eyes out because all I could think about was my kids. I have 2 daughters. That's all I could think about was my kids. But by the grace of God, I've come a very long way from 2020. Having my surgery in the midst of COVID. No one being there for me. No one even being allowed to come in the room with me. I've come a very long way. I went through my radiation, which wasn't decided by University of Miami, was decided by the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville that I needed to have radiation. A team of doctors sat down around Thanksgiving. I got a call that I needed to have my radiation. Now my surgery was July of 2020. Eventually, November, I needed to have radiation, and I needed to go through 6 weeks of radiation. And at this time, I was going through a lot of personal things, a lot of family things. And I had already had my craniotomy. I had already gone back to work 2 weeks later because, hey, I gotta go to work. I gotta pay my bills. I go have my radiation. 6 weeks of that. Had to take leave off from a brand new job. Then later, following chemo, took the pills so that I could go to work. You know, everyone thinks that it's easy, but it's not easy. I lost a lot of my hair. This is a wig. All of the whole front of my hair was gone. It was just falling out in clumps. I wanted to cut it off. My hairdresser told me, no, don't cut it off. We'll go through that later in another channel or another topic. But for those of you out there that feel like you can't do it, that feel like giving up, that feel like your life is not worth it, your life is worth it. Do not give up. They diagnosed me with terminal cancer, terminal, and I'm 39. Do not give up. Any kind of cancer, the dirty C word, is no joke. You can make it. This is my testimony. This is not all of my testimony. This is only part of my testimony because every step of the way, God made a way. I'll see you guys next time. And this is Talking with Tisha.